Okay, I call this meeting of the Township Committee to order. This is the meeting for Thursday, June 25th. And Greg, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to both Chad Courier and Morris County Daily Record on June 12, 2020. Notice was posted on the bulletin board of the main hallway of the municipal building on June 12, 2020. And notice was filed with the Township Clerk on June 12, 2020.
Thank you, Greg. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Greg, could we have a roll call?
Mrs. Ewell?
Here.
Mrs. Monaco?
Here.
Mrs. Schwartz is not here yet.
Here.
Mayor Kelly?
Here.
We have one.
Thank you very much.
So now we switch.
Just a quick motion to approve the agenda. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Agenda is approved. Our next order of business is to adopt a resolution to go into executive session. Can I have that resolution?
No, you have to open it to the public.
Public
comment session is later on the agenda after 5:30. It's one meeting.
You're treating it as one meeting? Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's how it was noticed.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Resolution 2020-P-16, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with public excluded, whereas NJSA 10.4-12 being the Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, as follows: the public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows: litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance with certain nationality and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-16-15. It is anticipated that the minutes of the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter of discussion, and in any event, when appropriate, pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13. The committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Thank you, Greg. And I just say that we're going to be coming back into regular session at 5:30. Can I have a motion to adopt that resolution to go into executive session?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Greg?
Mrs. Ewell?
Yes.
Mrs. Monaco?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Greg. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the public portion of our meeting.
Mike, I can't hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the public portion of our Township Committee meeting for Thursday, June 25th. Greg, could we do a roll call for the public portion of the meeting?
Mrs. Ewell?
Here.
Mrs. Monaco?
Here.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Here.
Mayor Kelly?
Here.
We have the full committee.
Thank you, Greg. Tonight's meeting is being conducted as a virtual meeting remotely. The audience can participate either through Zoom and raise their hand to participate in the public comment portion, or if they are watching through FiOS channel 26 or Comcast channel 29, they should dial *9 at the appropriate time to participate in any public comment section. I'd like to start tonight's meeting with a comment to kind of put in context what we plan to be doing tonight, because it's some changes from some of the things that we've been previously talking about. The Township Committee tonight is announcing a change in direction to replace its River Road affordable housing site with a site on Southern Boulevard across from the Hickory Square Shopping Center. On the agenda of tonight's meeting is a resolution to authorize obtaining quotes on the appraisal of property. The intent is to determine the fair market value of 522 Southern Boulevard. Adoption of this resolution is a commitment by the Township Committee to fairly compensate the owners and to acquire this property, which has been the site of the Charlie Brown's restaurant. Township officials for more than 8 months have been in confidential conversations with the family, which has strong local roots and has owned this property for generations. Over the past few weeks, there were discussions with offers exchanged. However, there was no agreement on the price. The formal appraisal is the next logical step in determining fair market value. We will give that appraisal to the family as part of the next round of discussions. Township representatives are talking this week with representatives of the Fair Share Housing Center, which must agree with the change of location from River Road. And we are talking with the court-appointed master who advises the Superior Court judge who must approve the change. Both Fair Share Housing and the special master are in general agreement that the Charlie Brown site is a better location than River Road for affordable housing, although numerous details, including the timing, must still be resolved. The Township Committee has never stopped looking for the best possible location to meet the Township's affordable housing obligation. Township representatives have talked with the owners of multiple properties large enough to accommodate the number of low-income apartments required to meet the Township's affordable housing agreement. A number of those properties are located in the vicinity of the Hickory Square Shopping Center. However, none of those property owners were interested in selling. When serious conversations began 8 months ago in November of 2019 with the family that owns 522 Southern Boulevard, they too had no interest in selling. But in recent weeks, the owners indicated a willingness to negotiate. As part of those discussions, the owners allowed the Township and its professionals to inspect the property, and it is believed that the property can accommodate the 62 affordable apartments needed to meet the Township's obligation. The resolution on tonight's agenda authorizing a formal appraisal is just one of several decisions being made to replace the River Road property with the Charlie Brown's property as the Township's affordable housing site. Also tonight, the Township Committee will move to table 3 separate bond ordinances to finance the purchase and improvement of 3 group home sites. These motions on the bond ordinances to purchase 587 Fairmount Avenue and 76 Southern Boulevard, and for the site improvements to the municipally owned property on Gibbons Place, will cause them to expire, and the financing from those bond ordinances will be redirected toward purchasing the Charlie Brown's property at 522 Southern Boulevard. The bond ordinance for the purchase of property at 490 River Road remains on tonight's agenda for a 4th and final public hearing and for a vote. The intent of the Township Committee is to use 490 River Road and the adjoining property already owned by the Township as sites for the 2 group homes previously planned for 587 Fairmount Avenue and 76 Southern Boulevard. The 3rd group home, included as part of the Township's affordable housing agreement with Fair Share Housing Center, will be located on Hillside Avenue on property that Sterling Sun Homes will donate to the Township as part of its affordable housing obligation. This proposed amendment to the Township's affordable housing agreement will need to be approved by Superior Court Judge Michael C. Gauss, who is overseeing the Township's affordable housing plans. The Fair Share Housing Center is receptive to continuing discussions with the Township regarding replacing the River Road property with another property in the center of the township, specifically 522 Southern Boulevard, as the location for the township's 100% municipally sponsored affordable housing development. The terms of such an agreement have been discussed with Fair Share Housing, but no agreement has been reached. A change to the existing settlement agreement remains to be negotiated, including a compliance and implementation schedule which would specify the timetable when certain actions would need to be taken by the township. An agreement still needs to be reduced to writing that is acceptable to Fair Share Housing and the court-appointed special master, and for approval by Superior Court Judge Gauss. On June 30th, 2020, Judge Gauss will hold a case management conference when these changes will be discussed, and a fairness and preliminary compliance hearing may be scheduled for later this summer. If an amended settlement agreement can be reached and approved at that compliance hearing, it would be conditioned upon the township meeting the schedule imposed by the court. And with that explanation of where we're going, I would like to move on to the agenda for tonight's meeting. And we will start with reports. Tracy, would you like to?
Mayor, with that, do you want to add to the agenda that resolution?
Add it to the agenda. Okay. Can I have a motion to add to the agenda the resolution that was just discussed about appraising property?
So moved.
Very good. We have two there, Greg?
Yes.
Okay.
And that'll be added to as item number 2 toward the end, after the intro.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Schwartz has to recuse herself from this matter.
And I won't move to approve it, won't move to introduce it.
Right. That's,
Okay.
Because it's a continuation of the River Road, this recusal.
Great, thank you.
One more step, Karen, then it should be okay.
So Tracy moved it. Can we have a second?
And Stacy, I believe, seconded.
Okay, thank you, Stacy.
Yeah, so that'll be item number 2 under resolutions at the end of the agenda before the hearing of citizens. So if the committee, if you want to call for a voice vote on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what he said? I literally cannot understand. I hear Greg's voice, I know it's him, but I can't understand at all what he's saying.
It'll be item number 2 under resolutions at the end of the agenda. And once we have a voice vote, then we can move on.
Can I have a...
It's being added as a non-consent resolution, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Number 2. Can I have a motion to add that as number 2 under the resolutions on the agenda? Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous, Greg. Okay. I'd like to move on to reports. Deputy Mayor Ness, start us off.
I'd like to begin by saying that I'm very happy that we can speak about plans that have been underway to move away from the River Road site and move towards 522 Southern Boulevard. It has been a long haul, many, many hours with our professionals, with Bob and Frank and John, weekend calls, evening calls, all sorts of discussions that have been going on. And I want to express I want to make sure that the residents understand that it's a very difficult process. And it's difficult that these negotiations have to move forward. Negotiations have to be private. I think I've said this before about not wanting to disadvantage the owners or a business, but always wanting to continue to move forward with discussions to try and move us in a different direction, which I think almost all of us agreed that River Road was not the right direction. And we have to balance that with the needs of, or the requests and the requirements and the supervision of the courts and Fair Share Housing. So it puts us in a very difficult position. but I think we feel confident enough in the discussions that we've had over these past many months that we've reached a point where this can be talked about, and hopefully it's relieves some people and it takes away that anxiety, which we certainly were aware that was there. So I want to thank all of our professionals, and I want to thank Mike, and I want to thank Albert and Bob and John and Frank for staying the course with us as we have continually moved here, moved there, bought property, renegotiated. They've been through quite a few twists and turns, some that will never probably become public because they didn't pan out. But it's been a very long process, and it's been a very long process for you as residents. So I hope that this brings some level of comfort that we can move forward from here. So thank you very much. Colony Pool. If anybody's been by Colony Pool, there's lots going on. The pool is filled. The inspector is coming tomorrow. The macadam is being resurfaced, resealed. And we have the new walking trail, the circle around the pool that we'll have, and we certainly have our new sprinklers working, so we should have a nice crop of grass this year, notwithstanding all of the rain that we've actually had. Our target date is June 30th or July 1st. We have to have the inspections done. I'd like to thank John and Bob for doing a fantastic effort in overlaying the entire site to determine what would be 6 by 6 and 10 by 10 squares, one being couples and one being family, to determine what our capacity could be. And in dealing with multiple and sometimes conflicting directives from the governor as to how we can operate, how many we can have, and they keep coming thick and fast. Particularly a thanks to Lauren, our pool manager, who put together a 30-page document on interpreting all of these directives and about how we're going to operate. And we've been sending that out to some of the Colony Pool members, and we would certainly encourage you guys to sign up. We think we're going to be able to have a really nice season. We think we're going to be able to accommodate a lot of people. Right now we have a total of 656 people, which is below where we were last year at 1,075. That's good news and bad news. Good news in terms of being able to adhere to social distancing and making sure that a lot of people can use the pool. Bad news from a cost perspective, because we really do need to have revenue coming into the pool to offset the operating costs. So from 2019 to 2020, we had 134 family memberships. We now have 88. We had 10 couple memberships in 2019. Now we have 6. 59 senior individual. We now have 41. And in terms of non-residential family, we had 51. Now we have 44. And non-residential senior, we had 14, and now we have 13. So the Colony, as many of you may have read, Memorial Pool in the borough is not opening, and we've been working with them actually since March on a kind of a combined marketing effort, even before realizing that all of this was going to happen. And we are now going to offer borough residents the resident fee, so that they'll be charged the same as Chatham Township residents. And right now that family membership is standing at $475. So it is a tremendous value to be able to come out to Colony Pool and enjoy all that it has to offer. To make this successful, I also like to thank the Colony Pool Committee, who has been slogging along with this as we've tried to prepare to open, and a special thanks to Dorothy for trying to straighten out Community Pass, which we will eventually get straightened out. To make this successful, we need your help, so we'd like to ask for people that if they'd like to come out to the pool, please do sign up. We will have space, and we can use the revenue to help with our operating costs. And we also need your help when we open. It is not going to be easy to try and figure out how we social distance in a pool. How does a 6-year-old with another 6-year-old social distance in a pool? We're all in this, and all of the local pools are in this kind of together and trying to figure this out. So masks will be required and social distancing will be required, and we're going to ask that we want to operate safely for everyone involved and ask for your cooperation, as the first couple of days, probably the first week, is going to be a little bumpy, but our staff is well prepared. They're already meeting to talk about all of the requirements, and we'll guide our members through that. So a big thank you to all involved, as well as Rich Young, who has been working to get it open. So lots of people to thank, lots of people involved, and looking forward to seeing everybody at the pool when we open. We should know tomorrow or Monday if we pass all of the inspections. So thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Karen.
Would you like to have any reports?
Well, I was about to chime in on the Department of Public Works doing all the heavy lifting down there at Colony. I know there are a lot of moving parts, but if it weren't for our steadfast crew at the Department of Public Works, I shudder to think of where we would be in both the Colony pool reopening and throughout town, because at some point in time, we're getting youth sports back and everything else that we've been missing for so long. The only other thing that really deserves mention right now, and I'll keep it short so that we don't sit here till midnight. Senior Center is going to at last have their shred event that was so unfortunately postponed a number of weeks ago. It is going to be scheduled for July 18th, which of course is a Saturday. It is going to be at the Chatham Middle School, which is a great venue for something like this. The drive-in capability is awesome. They're going to have 2 trucks. Unfortunately, I made it late to the party the last time they actually did have a shred, and I went home with all of my confidential documents. They ran out of room in the truck. This year they will have 2 trucks. I know we've been storing up stuff for many, many weeks. July 18th, 9 a.m. to noon. And thank you to everybody in advance who is going to be bringing their confidential shreddables there. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Celeste, would you like to make any reports?
Yes, I don't have any reports, but I would just like to thank the mayor and Bob and everybody else that's involved in moving us away from the River Road site. I think it should be pleasing to most of the residents. Thank you. And that's all.
And Stacy?
Yes, before I start my report, I just wanted to ask Karen, because I know you've been keeping on top of our recycle center, and my husband asks me on a daily basis about when our recycle center is opening.
They are actually open. Unfortunately, the website hasn't been updated, but we were just on the phone with them today, so we're going to get on that. Recycling opened on Tuesday. They will resume normal hours. We will get the schedule. If they were open on Tuesday, I believe that means they're open on Saturday, but we'll get that posted as soon as possible. Right, folks? It should be updated. I know the information is already there, just ready to swap out from the old link to the new one. So we are up and running. Our first reports were that things went very well at the recycling center, and we look forward to making sure everything continues to work. The compactor is not going to be accessible. So folks are definitely going to have to be lugging their recyclables up those makeshift steps to the roll-offs. And unfortunately, it'll be a lot of self-service. Our congenial Department of Public Works staff is not going to be there. Well, they will be there, but they're not going to be assisting. In order to maintain social distance, we're going to be responsible for getting our own recycling material into the roll-offs. I believe that there is still the facility for the large plastic things such as little tykes, old backyard stuff. And if anything cannot be brought up those steps, it can be left in a pile, and the Township's strongest will take care of that at the close of business. So yeah, we're back open Tuesdays and Saturdays according to the old traditional schedule. We'll get that website back up.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Before I give my reports, I just wanted to thank the residents for their contribution to the affordable housing process. I know it's been a very stressful time. Although River Road was the site selected by the committee when they signed the 2018 Affordable Housing Agreement, and it was the only viable site when I joined the committee in January, it was very clear that it was not the best option. Your extraordinary and impressive efforts to focus everyone's attention on the environmental sensitivity of the area is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for your efforts. I also want to thank Mayor Kelly, our township administrator, and our professional staff for all that they did to find the best solution for our township residents. It was a long and painful process, but 522 Southern Boulevard is definitely the right location for our township residents and our new township residents that we can expect in the next couple of years who will be moving into that facility. So thank you everybody for your efforts. In terms of what's going on, Tri-Town Cares Initiative or Mental Health Initiative, the survey is still open, but it will be closing shortly. So please go online, tritowcares.org, to access the survey, and that will help us to connect residents with resources. Right now, Madison has the most responses, and I would like to make sure the township is represented so we can get our residents linked to the resources they need. There will be Black Lives Matter teach-in on July 11th at 4 p.m. at the Chatham train station. I've heard from people that that's a very educational experience, so I encourage residents to attend. And then our small businesses, you'll see that slowly things are starting to reopen. If you go on the Keep Chatham Thriving site, they're sharing different businesses that are opening and what they're able to, the services they're able to provide. Outdoor seating or outdoor dining options, we've got, I think it's about seven restaurants that are providing outdoor seating or dining options, and indoor seating is supposed to be opening shortly as well. So please support those local businesses. I also participated in League of Municipalities call. They're reminding everybody to complete your census. It is so important to be counted and to get the support we need here in our community. And I think I'll stop at that.
Very good. Thank you, Stacy. John Rushke, do you have anything to report from engineering?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you, John. Albert from legal, is there anything to report?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Bob from administrator?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have several items to report on. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Good. All right, Mr. Mayor, on the agenda tonight, we have items of action that are important to the township because they entitle the township to reimbursement or they will save the township funds in the future. So I'm pleased to report that yesterday we had LED lighting was beginning to be installed at the police department. This was part of the $308,000 75-25% grant from PSE&G. So the new lighting is being installed in the police department. We are awaiting the two boilers, one for the police department and one for this building, as well as the HVAC units and the ductwork for this building. So that's underway. Once that is completed, we anticipate that the township will reduce its monthly utility cost by about $2,300. So PSE&G is paying $215,000 and the township is paying the rest, and that's coming out of the savings from our bills. Also, the team sports, as has been alluded to earlier, they began practicing this week. I want to compliment and thank the Chatham Baseball Association and their partners for working with the township on putting together the proper social distancing protocols and obtaining the sanitizers for the equipment, and for making sure that all of the coaches, all of the staff, all of the umpires know what the rules are. So they began practicing on our fields this week. It looks like games will begin the week of July 6th for travel baseball, and we're looking forward to assisting softball. So this is the parents deserve to be thanked for their help with that. One of the other items on the agenda tonight is for the police department to enter into a contract for third-party administration of third-party or overtime duty for the police department for the scheduling and then the collection of fees from the utilities. By entering into this agreement, the township will be freeing up approximately 200 hours of superior officer staff time that can be used for other purposes instead of figuring out who's entitled to work shifts and things of that nature. So this will help our police department, which is already an accredited organization, become even more professional and able to serve our residents in these trying times. There's also a resolution on the agenda for new copiers. Our copier leases have expired. This new lease agreement, which is through a purchasing cooperative, will save the township $11,000 over the next 5 years in terms of lease costs, but it also reduces the cost per copy for our copiers, and it also provides the capability of having color copies so that when we prepare packets for the zoning board and the planning board, our volunteers will be able to look at the same information in the same color template as the professionals instead of looking at black and white photos of whatever's being discussed. Also, there's a resolution on the agenda for e-ticketing, which will save the court as well as our officers time, because they're only going to be entering information into the system once instead of right now they enter it 3 times. So there's opportunities for transcription errors, but we will have less problems down the road, and it's also something that will be safer for our officers in the future. Also on the agenda is a resolution, and I do hope that the Township Committee accepts the resolution, because Green Acres would like to present the town or send the town a wire transfer for $467,253 for a reimbursement for the purchase of some property that was done several years ago. The Township Committee may recall that in March of 2019, with the assistance of Mr. Bazralian, we became aware that there could be additional funds available on program funds from Green Acres, so we immediately sent a letter, and we've been following up on a regular basis, and lo and behold, if the Township Committee wishes to adopt that resolution, we will wind up with the money in our accounts and help to pay down some of our open space debt. So those are some of the items that I wanted to make you aware of. We started on June 9th, we started our new energy procurement program. The Township Committee may recall that in January we participated in an energy auction. So we are now paying 4.73 cents per kilowatt hour as of June 9th. Prior to that, we were paying 9.56 cents per kilowatt hour. So we've saved approximately 50% on the cost of energy, of raw energy. I'm estimating that we will save about $48,000 on our energy costs because we were able to do that. So we will be monitoring that. As we went through the process, we found that there were several small accounts and things like that can be eliminated, and we're going to be eliminating those and requesting refunds for certain areas. So there's a couple buried accounts for it looks like it might have been for old phone booths and things like that required electricity, and it's the township's responsibility to notify the energy providers that that's no longer needed. So we'll do that, and we are entitled to a refund for certain of those accounts. And last but not least, we're making progress on our website. Our new website is coming along nicely. As Billy Crystal would say, it looks marvelous, but we need some pictures. So if anybody has pictures in that 2,000 pixel range that they would like to send in, we're looking for some pictures of Chatham Township that we can put on our new website. And with that, Mayor, that finishes my report. Thank you.
Bob, thank you. I think that with all the headlines and time and attention given to the pandemic and given to affordable housing, It's easy to overlook the day-to-day issues that need attention, and that's a heck of a list of successes. So thank you, and to all the staff that worked on that.
Thank you. And Mr.
I would really like to extend thanks to Joe Basralian and the Open Space Committee and administration here for relentlessly pursuing funding for our open space purchases. If I'm not mistaken, Bob, this is for the property on the southern side of Southern Boulevard, Snake Hill, as we used to refer to it.
Yes, it's for that 6.6 acre parcel, yes.
Right, and it was very important to us at the time that that piece of property be given or purchased back by the township, because essentially looking at River Road development, whether it was going to be our affordable housing matters or what's going on to the north of us in the borough, keeping that corridor into Chatham Township green and undeveloped was very, very important to all of us at the time. And we did everything we could to keep from burdening the taxpayers with that purchase. And this additional funding is just another step in that direction. It's an important piece of property, an important acquisition for the township to maintain our greenery, and just kudos to everybody for making sure that that funding came our way. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Joe Basralian for that.
May I make one more comment, Mr. Mayor?
Certainly.
Thank you.
With everything that Committeewoman Schwartz says is true, and I'm sure that Mr. Basralian will be giving me a call tomorrow, because if this resolution is adopted, then we will be eligible to ask the state for additional funding. So there would be another letter going to the state, similar to the one that went in March of 2019, asking that the township be considered for unprogrammed funding in the future to pay down this debt, because the state did say that they had underfunded our underfunded Chatham Township in the grant award. So we will be doing that. And then I just ran a quick calculation. There's $741,878 worth of reimbursement or savings on this that was discussed tonight. So thank you.
It's $750,000.
Yes.
That's great.
I'd just like to add that I wanted to thank Bob too, and all of the staff here that have been working towards, our agenda of trying to find savings wherever we can find them. And it's not easy to go through all of the programs, all the services, service contracts, insurance contracts, phone contracts. It's very time consuming. And Bob has done that over the past year and has found significant savings and some very interesting things. Buildings that we don't have that we were insuring, we were still paying for long distance calling, which I don't even remember when the last time that ever was. We had significant issues with our servers, and those were upgraded. We've never had Wi-Fi in this building. We now have Wi-Fi. And certainly sometime, and though tonight's probably not the night, but I would love to have Bob give a kind of an overview of all of the efforts on cybersecurity. It is a huge effort that happened over the past year, and it is extremely interesting to see what kind of hits that we get on our sites, on our police sites. So that's for another day, but thank you for all that work. It's not an insignificant amount of money, and it's part of what we'd like to do is to go through all of this and find the savings that we can.
Thank you.
Greg, anything to report?
Yes, if you could adjust the volume on there, I'll let myself talk through here.
Right down.
Okay, you should be able to hear me. Karen, can you hear me?
I can hear you great, Greg. Better
okay, good. Ever. Okay, so good, this is working. So yes, Mayor, I have a report regarding the upcoming primary. Since things are a bit different than normal, I wanted to go over some highlights from the FAQs that we have on our website.
Please.
Due to COVID-19, New Jersey elections are pushed to July 7th and will now be primarily vote by mail. All voters are strongly encouraged to vote by mail. If you come to a polling place, you will be allowed to vote using a provisional ballot, which is a paper ballot. Voters are urged to use your vote by mail ballot. as provisional ballots are counted last and must be checked against vote-by-mail ballots that have already been cast before they are accepted and canvassed. That's to make sure that people don't vote twice. All active registered Republicans and Democrats will automatically be mailed a vote-by-mail ballot. And I was on a conference call with the county last week, and they have reported that countywide, all the active ballots have gone out. All unaffiliated voters or inactive Republican or Democrat voters will automatically receive a vote-by-mail ballot application. The deadline for the Morris County Clerk's Office to receive a vote-by-mail application in time to provide a ballot to the voter by mail is June 30th. In-person vote-by-mail applications will be accepted by the County Clerk's Elections Office until 8 p.m. on July 7th, 2020, which is primary day. If you return your vote-by-mail ballot by mail, the ballot must be postmarked on or before July 7th, 2020, and received by the Board of Elections by 8 p.m. on July 14th to be considered valid. If you're using one of the 5 secure drop boxes, the deadline for delivering your ballot is 8 p.m. on July 7th, 2020. And I have more information on the locations of those drop boxes, which I'll give in a moment. Vote-by-mail ballots will not be accepted at the polling location. Let me repeat that. Vote-by-mail ballots will not be accepted at the polling location. You need to send it in by mail, drop it off at one of the designated locations, or bring it directly to the county office. If you are delivering your ballot in person, you may deliver it and submit your completed ballot to the Board of Elections office up until 8 p.m. on July 7th, the night of the primary election. If your vote-by-mail ballot is lost, damaged, or you do not believe you received it, you may request a duplicate from the county clerk's office. You may also visit the county clerk's office up until 8 p.m. on election night to request a duplicate ballot. Insofar as there is any in-person voting, as I noted earlier, it will be strictly by provisional ballot. The only machine voting will be people who are ADA and people who are disabled, but that would be very limited in scope. Most people, if they show up at the polling place, would be voting by provisional ballot. The polling place for this election will be Long Hill Chapel. Per the county, every municipality in Morris County was only allowed one polling place. This site was selected by me, the township clerk, because it was best suited to compliance with social distancing requirements. As noted previously, voters are urged to use the vote-by-mail ballots. I mentioned earlier that there are different locations where ballots can be dropped off in secure drop boxes. The two that are closest to here are the Morris County Administration and Records Building, which is 10 Court Street in Morristown. The county tells me that the box is outside the front entrance. But even closer than that, and I'm going to share screen on Zoom, is in Madison. Let me just quick share this. This is at the commuter parking lot number 3 at 62 Kings Road, which it's right behind the public safety building in Madison, that building at the corner of Kings Road and Prospect, where the fire department and police department are. If you take Kings Road toward the YMCA, there's a commuter lot, and you can see the picture there on Zoom of what the box looks like. If you pull into the commuter lot, it's right up along the fence by the police cars. And it operates very similar to those boxes that they have at the library for a book return. The 3 other locations around the county are the Mount Olive Municipal Building, the Rockaway Township Municipal Building, and the Montville Municipal Building. Clearly, the Morris County Administration Building and the Madison Public Safety Building are the closest for Chatham Township residents, and it's available 24 hours a day. If anybody has any further questions, feel free to give me a call during business hours. My direct line is 973-635-3209. And you can also reach the Morris County Board of Elections at 973-285-6715. And the Morris County Clerk's Office, their elections office is 973-285-6066. And as previously noted, we do have had for a few weeks now the
Thank you, Greg. That's a wealth of valuable information there, so thank you for sharing it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I may impose, I have one more item that is important for the township to know.
Please.
One of the items on the agenda that I forgot to mention is there's a resolution to authorize Gramco to come in, and we believe we have a fix for the link between Zoom and our cable access. So Gramco is now finished working with the courts. They can order the parts starting tomorrow, and they will be able to have the new linkage installed before our next township committee meeting. So instead of yelling, "Can you hear me now?" and all of those other items, it should be resolved. And I wanted to thank our township clerk for. I asked him to take the lead, and he's done a wonderful job helping to figure this out, along with our videographer Alexandra. But just staying on top of Gramco and asking, is this the right fix? And then when can you get here? When can you get here? So if the township committee sees fit to do that, we should not all be saying what. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One more thing. I'd like to thank Alex back there. Woot woot. She celebrated her 1-year anniversary with us last year and has certainly had to pivot with this pandemic, trying to knit together videos that include Zoom and video and call-in people, and it's taken her hours and hours of time to put these videos together, so we apologize for sometimes being late with getting the videos of the meeting up. So thank you, Alex, and thank you for all of your hard work. Happy anniversary to you.
Very good. Okay, if there's nothing else to report, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Greg, could you read those resolutions, please?
Sure. And is the volume adjusted on that speaker? This evening on the consent agenda, we have Resolution 2020-147, receipt of reports, 2020-148, approving meeting minutes, 2020-149, approving executive session minutes, 2020-150, authorizing grant application for Melly Avenue resurfacing, 2020-151, awarding contract for the police third-party scheduling vendor, 2020-152, awarding contract to Gramco for audiovisual upgrades, 2020-153, authorizing copier lease, 2020-154, authorizing contract for e-ticketing software, Resolution 2020-155, amending 2020 budget for receipt of the Clean Communities Grant, 2020-156, accepting Green Acres funds, and 2020-157, fire subcode officials' hours.
Thank you, Greg. I think we've already given a little explanation of the key items there on the different resolutions.
And Mayor, I believe Mrs. Swartz will have to recuse from or abstain from the executive session minute approval. So I will ask that one be a separate vote.
Very good.
Thank you, Greg.
Could I have a motion to adopt all of the consent agenda except for the executive session minutes, which is 2020-149?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fandacco?
Yes.
Mrs. Swartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness,
Yes.
and Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
And then next up would be Resolution 2020-149, which is approval of executive session minutes.
Okay, could I have a motion to adopt the executive session minutes?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Very good.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco,
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz,
I'll abstain as previously discussed.
Deputy Mayor Ness,
Yes.
and Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Motion passes, and thank you all.
Thank you, Greg. We now come to the ordinance portion of the agenda, the public hearings, final adoption of ordinances. And as was explained in my statement at the beginning of tonight's meeting, can I have a motion to table ordinance 2020-07, which is the bond ordinance to purchase 76 Southern Boulevard?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Greg?
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco,
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz,
Up here. Am I allowed to vote on this? I'm voting yes if I'm allowed to.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Albert.
Deputy Mayor Ness,
Yes.
and Mayor Kelly.
Yes. Thank you, Greg. The next item is ordinance 2020-08, which is the bond ordinance to purchase 587 Fairmount Avenue for a group home. Can I have a motion to table this bond ordinance?
So moved.
And a second? Thank you.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco,
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness,
Yes.
and Mayor Kelly.
Yes. And the third in the series, ordinance 2020-09, the bond ordinance for the improvements to Gibbons Place, block 138, lot 4, also for a group home. Can I have a motion to table this ordinance?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco,
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness,
Yes.
Mayor Kelly.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for that. Now we come to ordinance 2020-10, which is the bond ordinance for the purchase of 490 River Road, block 62, lot 70. And for this ordinance, we will be holding the public hearing. So I would like to open the public hearing on this bond ordinances. This is the fourth time that we've carried this hearing, and the intent is to, as we explained, is to use this property for a different purpose than was originally intended, but this will be intended now for a group home site. But Greg, if we could open this up for a public hearing for anyone who has their hands raised.
And if any of our dial-in participants wish to be recognized, they can raise their hand by pressing *9. And if there's anyone else that wishes to be recognized, they can use the raise hand function. Looks like we have a phone number. Last four digits, looks like 7807. You have the floor. If you could identify yourself.
Telephone number 7807 has the floor. If you'd like to start off by identifying yourself by name and address, please. Can't hear you at this end. Can you check your being muted?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Joe Bazralian, 24 Fairfax Terrace, Township. Just wanted to say thank you to the Township Committee, all the members of the Township Committee for helping to put things on a really hopeful track with regards to this particular site. Thank you for the enormous amount of work that's been going into it. And a general comment, thank you to the way that Chatham has worked since at least I've been here, is that there's been a building process. Every township committee has done the best they could and proceeded with the kind of based on the best efforts of the ones before. And based on the work you're doing here, I feel that's really on track to go forward. So just an example of that, this 7 acres preserved several years ago, thanks to prior township committees, and has carried over into this township committee and this new administrator in obtaining all the funding that the township is entitled to. While that original purchase was prompted by prior committee members Kevin Sullivan, it was also a phone call I got from Tracy Ness early last year saying, whoa, isn't there any more open space funding out there? That then set in motion the ability to get the additional monies that the state owed us. So it's a continuity of people like you and people in the past who are so committed to doing the best they can by our taxpayers and by the master plan and everything else. And just a little plug to file in our minds. We believe the county, because we pay into the county open space fund and the state green acre, well, the county open space fund, we believe that there's considerably more money available to good applications that towns like ours put into it. And if we have the opportunity, I know that everyone on this committee, everyone in town agrees that we could take full advantage of any future open space opportunities that we have. But so in summary, thank you for working so hard to put things on a good track, and thank you to everyone for participating in the process.
Hey, Joe, before you go, it's Karen. Joe, you're very gracious to bring up former Mayor Kevin Sullivan's name in your call here right now. I don't think we would be where we are if it weren't for him, for his forward thinking, obviously for acquiring the, helping Chatham Township to piece together the acquisition of the Giralda property, and then for having his eyes out for this 7 acre woods, as we used to adoringly call it when we first started negotiating this with the families that owned those properties.
We've been really blessed. The people who run have put their hearts into everything. You'd think that it was a full-time, highly paid job with how much you guys do. And I know that, I really know that when people look back a few years from now, we hope that, we'll have that same sort of feeling of continuity of people doing their best and which we live with for generations to come. So the actions that we all and you all are taking now will have ripple effects, as you know, for forever, really. So thank you to everybody.
And thanks to you for all the hard work you do, Joe. You're great.
It was my pleasure. Thanks, Karen.
And my thanks to Joe as well. Thanks for the recognition and you and I working together and trying to get that money back. And we were successful in doing so. So thank you for your efforts and Bob's efforts in making some last minute calls and sending last minute letters, but it was able to happen. I also want to thank you, Joe, for raising up and continuing to raise up all of the environmental issues that we are concerned about on River Road. Again, it's a little bit of a tough road to hoe for us between, having to manage expectations with the court and as well as all of this being in process, but it certainly gives us a good leg to stand on, all of your efforts and your presentation that you did to say that this site just really isn't suitable for affordable housing. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate your efforts as chair of the Open Space Advisory Committee.
Mr. Mayor, before you call on the next speaker, you typically have given an explanation of how the public portion of the meeting is going to operate, the public hearings is going to operate. You did not do that today. So if you could just repeat the way you've been working or operating the last few meetings in terms of public comment, I think that would be beneficial for everyone.
Okay, thank you. We did say part of it at the beginning, but not the whole thing. If you're watching and participating through Zoom, please follow the instructions to raise your hand. If you are watching and participating through either of our cable TV channels, please call in on any of the phone numbers that appear on your screen during these appropriate times, and then dial *9 to raise your hand. When you're recognized, please start by giving your name and address. Please focus your comments on the topic of each particular hearing, and please recognize that we ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes each. So with that being said, I would invite...
We're also doing one crack at the apple per hearing?
Yes. For each separate hearing, we are recognizing each speaker once. I see a hand raised for Paul Payton.
Greg, if you would give Paul the floor.
Unmute. There we go. Paul Payton, 67 Candace Lane in Chatham Township. I just wanted to say thank you all for pulling the rabbit out of the hat with this one. The Charlie Brown's location has the benefit of shopping and other services up there. We are going to miss Charlie Brown's, but I heard that I don't know what's going in at the Myersville Inn, but there's an option for them. But I think you guys did great with this. Thank you so much for all the effort. I know it's mostly a full-time job, even though you don't get enough pay for it. And I feel like the township's in good hands. So that's really it. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Paul. And if there's anyone else who'd like to speak on the ordinance to purchase 490 River Road. Seeing no one, is anyone else? No, there we go. Very good. Tom Tether. Greg, if you would advance him to the microphone. Tom, you have the floor.
Yes, good evening. Thanks for recognizing me. It's Tom Tether, 115 Huron Drive. I would just like to thank the mayor and the township committee for their hard work and I guess behind the scenes work in reselecting a different site. I think, and also to say thank you for listening. I know it's been a long, hard road, and there have been a lot of late nights and meetings and a lot of upset residents. And I think this this selection of the new site is a great result and a perfect outcome for both the township and the future residents. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. The floor is available for anyone who might have a comment on 490 River Road. Seeing no one? Anyone on your list? Oh, okay. Yes. A new, okay. Greg, if you...
For 490 River.
For 490 River? Yes. I'm sorry, did I not say that? Greg, would you, Mr. Murray? Mr. Murray, you have the floor.
Yeah, good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Pat Murray, 107 Huron Drive. I would just like to first and foremost thank the entire committee for the tireless effort that you've put in the last couple of months, of which I'm sure has been an extremely challenging decision and negotiation of what you've tried to do with the new property. I think you guys are making the right decision, and I appreciate all your efforts. And I just want to say a simple thank you for your service. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Nils has his hand up. If he, Greg, if you can give him the floor.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I would also like to thank you all for your efforts. I was a little late, but I hear that the Charlie Brown location has been chosen for the majority of the rental units. So it's been very stressful for us here at River Road. Maybe you could take the opportunity to explain how Lot 70 and 71 are going to be used. Maybe I missed something, or maybe this would be a good occasion to do so. Thank you very much.
Nils, could you finish with giving us your address, please?
Yes, I am at 504 River Road.
Thank you. Sure. How will Lot 70 and 71 be used? The intention is that we will locate 2 group homes down there. These are group homes that were previously planned for 587 Fairmount Avenue and for 76 Southern Boulevard, both of which of those bond ordinances were tabled tonight. So we will be moving forward, seeking approval for two group homes on River Road. Now, as in general, we had a presentation on those 2 other group homes, and those presentations focused on the fact that a group home typically is a 4-bedroom ranch house. It typically has 1 staff member per shift and has 3 rotating shifts, three rotating 8-hour shifts over the course of a day. These would be managed and run by a nonprofit that catered to the needs of a special needs population. And those decisions have not yet been made on who they'll be, but typically these are special needs young adults who benefit from a home-like environment instead of an institutional environment, which was really the only option in years past. So as further details emerge, we will certainly be making presentations and explaining that further.
Just to remind the River Road residents also who are interested in learning more about the group homes, there is the presentation that Nouvelle Associates gave is up on the Chatham Township website under the Affordable Housing tab. It is the 2nd item. First item is the Walters Group presentation. The 2nd item is the Nouvelle LLC Community Residence Developments. So you can go online there to get more information just generally on the approach to the group homes and the residents and what they tend to look like, those types of things.
Thank you, Stacy. That's very true. Okay. Nils' hand is still up. Tell you what, with no one else's hands up, does anyone else have intention to speak on this public hearing? Then if Nils has a follow-up question, we'll make a special exception and allow him to another quick chance to talk, but he is the last speaker, and then we'll close this public hearing. Nils, did you have a follow-up question?
No, I just want to, I think this is an excellent solution, and I will welcome group homes close to where we live. And I hope to raise the question about open space in connection with the new homes. I appreciate the solution you have come up with. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing on this bond ordinance, and we'll move to a vote. Greg, could you read the title, please?
Actually, if you want to cover that way, you can speak into.
Very good.
Let's see here. Okay, testing. Karen, Stacy, Celeste, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Just as a reminder,
this evening we have ordinance 2020-10, bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of real property for the affordable housing purposes in, by, and for the Township of Chatham and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $680,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Ms. Schwartz,
thank you,
just
Greg.
as a reminder, Ms. Schwartz is still recused.
We have a roll call?
Can we listen to Albert
Oh, wait.
before we proceed?
Yep.
Ms. Schwartz is still recused on this matter.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And can I have a second?
Second.
Very good.
Mrs. Ewell?
Yes.
Mrs. Fadaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz was recused.
Deputy Mayor Ness
Yes.
and Mayor Kelly.
Yes. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is ordinance 2020-11, rezoning 344 Hillside Avenue, block 67, lot 17, and lot 17.01. The public hearing on this item is going to be continued to our next meeting on July 9th, 2020. Greg, could you give a quick explanation on that?
Yes, if you can quick adjust that. Quite simply, after the last meeting, when it was amended, the advertisement was sent to the Morris County Daily Record in the hopes that it would be published on the 15th, which would be the 10-day requirement for publication of notice. Unfortunately, the paper didn't publish it until the 16th, which was only 9 days. So because of the procedural reason, we can still have the public hearing tonight as advertised, but in order to meet the adequate notice of the ordinance legal requirements, we need to defer the public hearing and any potential action until our next meeting on July 9th. The re-advertisement has been published to be able to meet that time frame, and notice will be mailed out again tomorrow to the residents within 200 feet.
Thank you, Greg.
Greg, did we notice them, given that we do have to continue this? So should we just continue it to the 9th because that's when people were noticed, or did they receive notice?
The mailing for that is going to go out tomorrow. The people did receive notice in the mail that there was going to be the hearing tonight.
Okay.
So, in fairness to the public, I would recommend that we proceed with public hearing.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure, just so that people knew.
Yes, if anybody is tuned in to tonight's meeting and wishing to talk on this one, we really should give them a chance, even though recognizing that we won't be taking any action on this tonight. So with that being said, we'll open the public hearing on ordinance 2020-11. If anyone wishes to speak, please raise your hand.
Mr. Anderson, you have the floor. Please start with your name and address, if you would.
Yeah, my name is James Anderson. I live at 287 Fairmont Avenue.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, I moved into the town approximately 20 years ago. I'm one of the 3 homes directly overlooking the whole hillside and river complex. I was fully aware recently about what was going on between Hillside Avenue and River, and they were putting in those, whatever they are, condos. But for whatever reason, I was not fully aware about the homes that were planned on being put in on Hillside. I guess these 2 properties that are in this bill. When I moved into the house some 20-odd years ago, I was told between the steep slope ordinance and the zoning that went on down there that it would be very difficult for any type of building to be done in that area. And, obviously some 20 years later, I was willing to overlook what's across the street. But, behind my house is, there's tremendous amount of animals down there. There's 2 fox dens. There's a world of wildlife. And I'm just wondering, with the steep slope, I just don't know how they're going to shoehorn 5 large homes into that area, and and have it not destroy everything that is back there. We're spending all this time looking for free space and to create wildlife in the area, and now we're taking what is really a very few areas of Chatham, and going in and uprooting it all and taking not just one side of the road, putting in a massive complex. Now we're moving to the other side of the road. To me, as a homeowner, that is really one of the 3 homes that directly is touching this property. I know it's late in the game, but to me, it's distressing. And I'm just, I'm wondering, there's an easement behind my house. There's the steep slope. I actually haven't, personally, I have not seen plans showing how far back these people's properties are going to go to the steep slope. And then who is going to own the steep slope area between my house and these houses down below? And I was wondering, was any thought put into about the wildlife and the trees in that particular area?
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
I guess I'd start out with asking, John, what's the best way for Mr. Anderson to get a look at the actual plans that were submitted, to get a visual sense of what we're talking about on that property?
The concept plan should be available. I'm not sure which department, if it's in the clerk's department or in the construction department, but you can certainly request a copy of that. And that plan basically did lay out the lots, and the proposed lots are representative of the R3 zone, which is also what the property above along Fairmont and across Fairmont are all R3. So the zoning that's proposed is consistent with that neighborhood. The conceptual plan does lay out that they are proposing to construct the houses closer to the roadway, and it does call for the steeper slopes in the rear to be preserved and deed restricted. So there is a substantial amount of slopes that are going to be preserved as part of this development, and a portion of the subject property also extends onto Fairmont, and that particular portion of the property will also be deed restricted, so there would not be a house constructed off of Fairmont. So all the houses would front the road on Hillside.
Okay. So, Mr. Anderson, if you feel you'd benefit from taking a look at the plans that were discussed at the planning board level, if you wanted to call the construction department and set up a time where they could make those plans available, considering the fact that the doors at the municipal building are locked, but if you can arrange a time for them to share those with you, that might be a big help. And I serve on the planning board as one of 2 township committee representatives on the planning board, and your concerns were certainly the planning board's concerns. The piece of property is in excess of 5 acres, and the previous zoning of that area required 2-acre lots, 2.5-acre lots actually. So it was, the builder would have been allowed to build 2 houses, and those would have been logically quite large houses on 2.5-acre lots, and they would have infringed on the steep slopes that you're concerned about. The zoning change there that is going to be implemented reduces the size of the lots and will reduce the size of the houses. We also reduced the setback from Hillside Avenue from 50 feet to 30 feet, which we felt was consistent with the other houses further down Hillside Avenue in Chatham Borough, so there'd be consistency there. But it also, most importantly for us and for you, where you are, it would pull the house forward and would reduce the impact on the start of the steep slopes and on the more wooded portion of the steep slopes. We also, as the planning board, are implementing a conservation easement for all of the slopes that are above a certain percentage of steepness. And what that will do is that it will permanently preserve the wooded hillside between your property up on on Fairmount Avenue and the developed portions of these properties down below. And furthermore, it will take the portion of this property that does go all the way through up to Fairmount Avenue, up alongside the 3 homes on Fairmount. It's going to take development forever off the table for that portion of the property, so that there's no chance that somebody will come in with some kind of a plan to develop up there. So definitely steps were taken. Appreciate your concerns, and if you would take the next step and check out what those plans look like. And as we said at the start, this public hearing is going to be continued to our June 9th meeting. And certainly if you have further questions, you're welcome to call in at that time.
Yeah, and again, there is on that Nouvelle group home presentation, there is the drawing that shows the 5 properties laid out, and it shows the retaining wall and the steep slopes behind, which is intended to be within the conservation easement. And the planning board has done a really great job of linking a lot of the documents to their meeting minutes. So you can just go into any of the planning board documents and click on the links to see the support for those different things that the planning board's been reviewing.
Thank you, Stacy.
I would actually like to beg to differ about the planning board's input here, because the meeting minutes from November of 2019 will clearly show that the planning board supported no more than 3 units on this piece of property when the subject was originally brought up about rezoning this section of Chatham Township. And we discussed at length, and the meetings will show that we felt that 4 houses was too much and 2 houses was probably an underutilization of that property. So the discussion was lengthy, and the planning board was changed this year when I lost my spot, and the previous chairman has also been replaced over the last year. I notice now all of a sudden we're going to 5 lots in this property when the planning board previously decided that 4 was too many and that 3 was appropriate. So I'm kind of curious about how we went from a planning board decision that 3 lots was the appropriate number up to now 5 lots being the appropriate number when 4 was decided to be too many in November of 2019, in case anybody wants to explain that. John Rushke, you were at that meeting. Bob Hoffman, you were at those meetings from November of 2019, I believe. Mike, you were there. Perhaps somebody wants to chime in about how we've miraculously reached a 5-lot decision.
No, I think it's in line with what I tried to explain about the change to the setback, the requirement for a conservation easement to protect both the steep slopes and the wooded portion of the hill. I think that the intent of both approaches has been to protect that steep slope. The original intent tried to do that with a 2.5 acre lot and our steep slope ordinance. The zoning change will protect the steep slopes with a much smaller building footprint and a conservation easement, as well as our steep slope ordinances. So I think that while the number of units does increase, it is going to be consistent with the lot size and for all along Hillside Avenue into Chatham Borough. And I think that arguably the steep slope protections under this new approach are really more effective and more restraining than what was there before when 2.5 acre lots were allowed. I think that, that it's 2 approaches to try to accomplish the same goal.
Well, I'll respectfully disagree, and I'll also respectfully disagree with the planning board's makeup right now. And I look at planning boards in the past. I've served on the planning board up until this year, since about 2012, 2013, and they were always a very level-headed group. But how on earth our level-headed, any protections that needed to be taken, now all of a sudden 5 lots is okay? I just don't get it.
Yeah, just to give you my perspective, because I'm also the other township committee
I know
member.
you are. I know, because that used to be my seat until I was not reappointed.
So from my perspective, I had a hard time. The big concern for the prior planning board members who were there when it was voted on last time was the intensity, the intensive use, because otherwise it would be a 100,000 square foot lot. So the intense use of the property. I had a hard time justifying not converting these to residential R3 zone properties, which is similar to the rest of Hillside area, similar to what's on Fairmount, when we're putting, or we approved last year, which I'm sorry, 2018, for 53 townhomes to go on the Dixie Dale property, which is an insanely intense use. So in terms of using a precedent that we're putting 53 townhomes across the way, to me, putting 5 homes, getting an affordable housing. The big concern with the planning board was the steep slope. So once we were able to address that through the conservation easement, there was more support in the planning board the last time the master plan consistency review was discussed. So the steep slopes were being addressed. We have, it's similar to R3 zoning, which is already in that area. And like I said, in terms of the intensity, the master plan consistency review will say that it's not consistent with the master plan because of that. But personally, I had a hard time justifying that it's not consistent when across the way we authorized through the prior administration 53 townhomes to go on that site.
I think that the use of the Averett property going forward is a spectacular use of the Averett property going forward. But these,
I don't disagree.
These ancillary units, to me, it's the ancillary lots now that we've rezoned it to, or that we're planning here to rezone it, to me is ludicrous. To jam those homes in. We've taken very good care to keep from jamming homes into smaller lots in Chatham Township. You know, you look at the certain prospects that were made in the last several years, and now all of a sudden we're doing exactly the opposite, and we are not talking about improving homes on smaller lots. We're talking about actually building them. I had brought up the notion of cluster homes, so perhaps a cluster of homes, such as maybe you see on Shunpike on the Madison side, something close together like that. And the consensus was that the lot area was too small for that. And now all of a sudden we're going to shove 5 homes in there. And you can go with that master plan consistency review and say that it's okay because we're going to put an affordable housing unit in there. So you're putting an affordable housing unit in there, which means that any regulations are off because you can get away with it when you do that. So this is not going to, this is just doesn't sit well with me. I understand all of the gyrations that we've gone through over the last several months on this one. But when the planning board in November of 2019, and I urge everybody to go back, the planning board meetings are all online, just as our meetings minutes are online. So please go back and look at the rationale behind 4 units being too many. Now all of a sudden 5 is okay.
Thank you, Karen.
No problem.
Okay. I see no further hands up to speak. We'll close the, well, we'll carry the public hearing until our July 9th meeting. At that time, we will continue the public meeting and put it for a vote. We have a late hand that just came up. Sure, Mr. Murray, you have the floor.
Good evening again, Township Committee, and you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much. On the topic of Hillside Drive, and I'd like to reiterate Councilman Schwartz's point. I specifically listened to that planning board meeting where they voted to rezone from 2 lots into 5 lots. And I specifically, Mayor, you might remember asking the Township Planning Board that if affordable housing wasn't part of the rezoning requirement, would they in fact change their view of their vote for November 2019? And solely was their reasoning for turning 2 lots to rezone into 5 lots, which was rejected back in November 2019 when it was asked to be zoned into 4 lots. Again, would they approve that if it wasn't for affordable housing? It got very quiet. And then, Mayor, you specifically spoke up and said it was, for the most part, their mandate and fiduciary responsibility to approve this site, given the fact that it's our state mandate for affordable housing. So I go back to the planning board and I go back to this council as well. What changed from 2 months ago or a month ago to November 19th, where we deemed, that planning board deemed that 4 lots was not suitable and 5 lots is now suitable, even with the increase in the steep slope ordinance where it would be for protected? And I asked Mayor Kelly, you specifically again, did you or anyone in your committee approach the developer and ask them if they would put in a request to develop 5 lots if they gave a town one of those lots? Did you specifically ask the developer, or did the developer approach the town? Could you please answer that question?
I'd be happy to. Because basically, you're now asking the question which you jumped to the conclusion to with a letter to the editor that ran a week or 2 ago, accusing me of some kind of accepting bribery.
Well, I think I asked the question, you never responded.
Anybody can go back and read the letter and the headline that went with it. There was a direct accusation based on nothing but your opinion, and your opinion was based on no facts, just on supposition. There certainly, the volunteer boards of this township are full of hardworking people, and I have no evidence, no clue, no indication that any of them, including myself, are in this to give special favors or to accept favors or to anything else that you're suggesting. I think that it demeans a lot of volunteer effort on the part of a lot of hardworking volunteers. You know, we've gone down the list of what has been imposed by this planning board to protect those steep slopes. It's a different approach than allowing 2 large homes which could have intruded further onto those steep slopes. And I personally think that it is a sensible and effective strategy. The question also was asked, what has changed? And just to reiterate what Committeewoman Ewald said is that one of the big changes that's coming down the pipe is the construction of 53 townhomes on the opposite side of Hillside Avenue. And I think it's very logical that that does change the perspective of what development is appropriate along that stretch of Hillside Avenue, right across the street from those townhomes that have been approved. A 2.5 acre lot, large house may have been the appropriate approach in the past. I think if you're building opposite connected townhomes, I think that smaller homes on smaller lots is a very, very logical and defensible approach. So, you know, I think it's it was a serious effort by the planning board to look at what existed there and what was in the best interest of Chatham Township.
Mr. Mayor, if I may supplement, excuse me, may I supplement your response for a moment? Yes. First of all, the procedure that we have been following is the speaker is allowed the full 5 minutes if that's the desire. At the end of the 5 minutes, the speaker is asked whether or not he has concluded his comments, and then there's a response, and we're straying from that process. But more importantly, the developer approached me as the township attorney with a request to rezone that property. And I did what I always do, not only in Chatham Township, but in any other municipality that I represent now or have represented, is that I bring it to the Township Committee's attention, and I recommend to them that that rezoning request be referred to the planning board. And that is what has occurred here. That there was a written request that was made. It was brought to the Township Committee's attention. The Township Committee adopted a resolution in open session referring the matter to the planning board for consideration. That is the standard procedure that I follow, and it is because the municipal land use law does not explain how a rezoning request is to be addressed. The rezoning request can be addressed directly by the Township Committee in the first instance, or it can be sent to the planning board for their review. My thinking and my recommendation is always to the governing body is get the benefit of the planning board review before you decide to take any action on this. And that is the procedure that has been followed here and followed in other instances when anyone has made a request to rezone a portion of their property or their property. And I just want to supplement that because it is a request that originated from me to the Township Committee as a result of the request from the developer, and it is the same process I have followed here as long as I've been the municipal attorney, and it is an accepted practice by other municipal attorneys in my office, and I believe a fairly consistent approach throughout the state. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Albert. Seeing no one else's hands raised, we will carry this hearing to the next meeting on July 9th. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the introduction of ordinances. Greg, could you read the title of this ordinance 2020-12?
Ordinance 2020-12, ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing the conveyance of a portion of certain real property located on Southern Boulevard, shown as Block 40.16, Lot 117.27 on the Township Tax Map, and commonly known as the Skate Park, to Southern Boulevard Urban Renewal, LLC.
Thank you, Greg. Now, the hearing and will be scheduled for this for our next meeting, I guess, but Albert, from a legal perspective, can I ask you just to give a brief synopsis of what this ordinance does?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance it has been part of a continuous process with respect to providing affordable housing at the skate park. As you may recall, the skate park was declared an area in need of redevelopment, and that area was originally much larger. The Township Committee has adopted an ordinance, which is an amendment to the redevelopment plan, changing or granting the Township Committee the ability to take that redevelopment area and divide it into two parts, approximately 1 acre on which the affordable housing development known as Arbor Green at Chatham that was approved by the Planning Board in December of last year can be housed. And then the remainder of the parcel, which is about 2 acres and is the area that houses the the skate park, two separate areas. So this ordinance, because the affordable housing at the skate park or at Arbor Green is being built at the sole cost of the developer, the understanding and the written agreement previously approved by the Township Committee is that that 1 acre parcel would be conveyed to the developer. The way to do that and the way to authorize that is through this ordinance. So this ordinance authorizes the Township Committee to convey a little over 1 acre to Southern Boulevard Urban Renewal, LLC, for the building of the Arbor Green development that's been approved for that site, 24 units. The next resolution authorizes the engineer, the township engineer, and myself to appear before the planning board and have the planning board review the proposed division of that property consistent with the amended redevelopment plan. So this is a continuation of a process that started 3 years ago or so, and it is the end of that process by authorizing the township committee to convey that 1 acre plus or minus parcel to the developer to build affordable housing, and then that will allow the township to retain the remainder of that parcel.
Thank you, Albert. Could I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Greg, roll call, please.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fundaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
As previously noted by the mayor, the public hearing will be scheduled for July 9th.
Thank you, Greg.
And Mayor, if I may quick interject, just as a reminder for the public, at the last meeting we had adopted an amended annual notice, so that meeting will again be at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you, Greg.
I'm sorry, some of that was muffled. Could you just repeat what he said?
I'll repeat it. Just Greg was reminding people that the meeting on July 9th will be at 5:30, which we amended our annual resolution to continue at 5:30 during the this month and August.
Great, thank you.
July and August, excuse me. Okay, we move on to resolutions. Resolution 2020-158. Greg, if you'd read the title, please.
Let me quick activate my camera. That way maybe we can get some lip reading. Resolution 2020-158. Resolution of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing the township attorney and engineer to appear before the planning board on behalf of the township for a review of the subdivision of a portion of block 48.16, lot 117.27, as shown on the township tax map, consistent with the ordinance 2020-04, amending the skate park redevelopment plan to allow the redevelopment area to be subdivided into parts A and B, and for the township to retain Part B.
Thank you, Greg. Could I have a motion to introduce this, to approve this resolution?
So moved.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Greg, roll call, please.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fundaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Then we have the one more.
Yes. Greg, could you read the title of the resolution seeking an appraiser?
This is Resolution 2020-159, Resolution of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing the Township Administrator to solicit quotes for services, and if the quote is below the Administrator's authority of $9,200, to award a contract.
Thank you, Greg. Could I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I heard Tracy first with that.
It's a time delay.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fundaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes. Thank you. That brings us to our hearing of citizens. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearings tonight. we've already discussed the directions for public participation.
And we would open the floor to anyone to raise their hand who would like to participate. Yes, recognizing Nicole Hagner.
Hello, Nicole Hagner, 396 River Road. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hi, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. First, I wanted to acknowledge and say that I am pleased to hear that the River Road site for the affordable housing complex is no longer being pursued by the Township Committee. So thank you for that. Certainly myself and many others did view it as possibly the worst location that could have ever been considered, not only due to the environmental constraints, but also due to the fact that it substantially deviated from the master plan. So I do appreciate the relocation of the affordable housing. And I do agree and have spoken out previously that the site that you mentioned tonight, 522, I believe it is, Southern Boulevard, is a proper location for the affordable housing complex. But I want to preface that by if the site is properly developed, and it can be highly desirable for the new residents that would be there, for the town center and the township as a large. So as long as we're keeping a commercial component within that complex. So one of my questions is, and maybe I missed it if you mentioned it, Mayor Kelly, will the development have commercial space within the development, within the larger development? Because I do think that that makes it even more highly desirable as a location to integrate it with the community. And also my second question is, have you already taken into consideration the development and the potential impacts or considerations on the residential neighborhood that's sort of near that development? Because, I think also for those residents that are in that area, for them to really understand the impact to them, has that already been, and are things being considered in the way it's being developed or the way it will be developed for that lot? And then my third question is more to the River Road and the group homes. Certainly that's probably a better use of those lots over there on River Road. Just sort of understanding exactly what will happen and when activities would happen for us to see plans for what those homes would look like. I know, Stacy, I think you mentioned the presentation that's already been put on the website for the other group homes. I mean, I assume that it can't be exactly like that, but would there be a similar presentation and timing, and what could the residents of River Road expect with regard to that, if you have those answers now?
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
The questions are, would there be consideration of commercial space as part of the development of that property? And yes, the answer to that is yes. That is the intent. That we're early on in this whole process, and certainly no, not even conceptual designs exist yet. But the analysis that was done of that property to see if it could fit 62 units of affordable housing, that analysis was done with in mind what would it take to also include commercial component facing Southern Boulevard. That certainly is something that I think the Township Committee would consider advantageous as well. Have the neighbors been informed or somehow the answer to that is that we're really not at that stage yet. The public announcement really was just made this evening, and yes, we need to take steps to make sure that all the information flows to the neighbors that certainly would be legitimately concerned about what this is. It is a commercial site already, but certainly I'm sure they're going to be interested, and I'm sure we need to provide information. But again, the announcement really was just made this evening as a change in direction. They're aren't a lot of details to that can be shared at this point with the neighbors. And yes, regarding the River Road and the group homes, one of the when we referred to the fact that that the Courts and Fair Share Housing Center needed a lot of their questions answered, one of their primary questions is the time frame and the timetable of when the different aspects of affordable housing are going to be moving forward. And certainly the group home component of that is an important part of the whole affordable housing agreement. And that is a timetable that we have to work on, and then we have to present it to the courts for their acceptance. So there's really no answer yet in terms of what would be the anticipated timetable, but certainly it's a reasonable request that we follow roughly the same procedure that was followed this time, with a public presentation of what a group home on those particular properties, would look like, and just the way we did on the other properties on Fairmount Avenue and Southern Boulevard. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, seeing no one, another chance to anyone to speak? We are going to stick with one round of comments. So
I would just like to respond to former Mayor Hagner's comment on the neighborhood adjacent to the former Charlie Brown's park.
Sure.
Between that parking lot and the neighbors. And I think it's imperative to maintain that substantial tree buffer. It's almost like woods, really. So when you do look at the layout of that lot and the layout of the homes that are opposing or that would be backing up to the new properties, it is truly imperative to maintain whatever buffer we can.
Very good point. Thank you, Karen.
Mayor, I can just add that, I did do a very rough preliminary sketch of what could be laid out on the property. And I absolutely took that in consideration of trying to maintain a reasonable amount, a significant amount of buffer in that area. And so that is being considered. And we also have to consider, we know for a fact that there are wetlands behind Juniper Village, and that those wetlands do extend towards this property. I don't believe it extends onto it. A wetlands assessment is going to have to be done, but there will also be buffers associated with those wetlands, and those buffers would have to be respected and maintained. And so that would also, actually maintain some of that woods associated, because it would be part of the buffer. So I think that, that is going to be part of any planning of that property, is to preserve that wood to the maximum extent possible.
Very good. Okay, seeing no one, we're going to close the public hearing. And that brings us to the end of our end of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Mayor, if I may interrupt, is there any need to go into further executive session?
I don't think so, and I'm not seeing anyone else indicating yes. So
Albert, do you feel that we need to go into further executive session?
I don't. I'm just raising it with the Township Committee.
Does anybody feel a need? No. Okay. I hear no's. I'll accept a motion to adjourn. And a second?
Second.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And I'm sorry.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Yes.
And now I can say thank you very much. Okay. Good night, everyone, and be safe. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everybody.